Member recognized, member from Burnaby Lougheed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm too angry to be happy to take my place in this debate on behalf of Burnaby Lougheed for the motion on the floor this morning. I join my colleagues on this side of the House to call on the government to fully support the adult basic education programs as a critical component of job readiness and training. As we know, this past December, the Liberal government announced that universities, colleges, and the school boards begin charging tuition for adult basic education, including ESL. Now, this is just one and the latest in the string of this government's assaults on education after the longest shutout from schools in BC history, ongoing deferred maintenance issues, debilitating cuts to English language learning programs that closed doors on over 9,000 new Canadians. So now let's go over the main arguments from the government trying to justify this indefensible decision. The government's claim number one, quote, graduated adults have already benefited from public K-12 education, so if they want to return to school, they should pay for it, end quote. This ministry is well aware that out of 25,000 students getting adult upgrading courses from 28 post-secondary institutions in BC, with another 10,000 students receiving ESL training, many of these are working low-paying jobs to put food on the table while juggling school, part-time, night schools, on weekends so that they can move on to post-secondary career training that they need for better jobs that will lift them and their family out of poverty. If you consider the people that are turning to adult basic education in the first place, we're not talking about the richest, most well-off, educated population in BC. We are talking about single parents, people with disabilities, new immigrants, ones that are laid off, young adults. So, Honorable Speaker, the department chairs and faculty of North Island College who work directly with students articulate this best, and that this government's decision to eliminate the direct funding of tuition-free upgrading programs erodes rather than provides the economic future and access to the labor market, and it'll be sure to exclude our most vulnerable citizens from full participation when tuition per term can be as much as $1,600, and that's more than some university and postgraduate programs. Government's claim number two is that grants will address the concerns of low-income students. Many students who can't afford the tuition will not qualify for grants that gets clawed back at a pre-tax income of $23,647. We're talking about someone making $11.50 an hour is considered too rich by this government to access basic education. And the paperwork for the grant application, Honorable Speaker, the complexity of that alone will deter people from applying even if they were eligible. And government's claim number three, and this is my favorite, this government claims that it apparently can't afford to continue providing tuition-free basic education for adults without having to raise taxes. Honorable Speaker, like, really? This is a province with an annual operating budget of $44 billion, and of all places that they can trim the fat, it is $16 million from basic education that this government will squeeze to balance the budget. We have a premier who finds $750,000 for a 10-day trip to Asia. This government has money to train workers in India and open BC schools in offshore, but they have to cut back BC facilities right here at home that are crumbling and molding and turn away British Columbians right here needing training for the jobs in this province. Money does seem to grow on trees for the Liberals to go $500 million over budget on a transmission line. There's room in the previous budget to spend $500 million on a stadium roof for BC Place. And of everything that needs funding in our province, it's the top 2% richest who gets the $230 million worth of tax break that nobody asked for. So, Honorable Speaker, like, how is it okay that this government tells someone making minimum wage that they're too rich to get grants for basic education, while it tells taxpayers to cough up $2,500 for Chinese lessons for a Liberal loyalist on a $150,000 per year patronage appointment? I honestly don't know. I've been here for 2 years. I've seen all sorts of things, but I honestly don't know how the members in the government can reconcile this mind-numbing absurdity and justify decisions like this over and over again. Honorable Speaker, my constituents in Burnaby Lougheed are not blind to this government's tyranny, and I believe that the Premier will need to answer to a growing number of British Columbians coming together to stand up and say that this is not okay. We have students, we have the Federation of Post-Secondary Educators here, the President of Faculty Associations right here in the gallery watching us, as well as podcasts that are set up across this province at institutions listening to this debate. And it's just plain wrong, Honorable Speaker, to milk $550 per credit out of adult basic education students. Many of them are gray-haired,
Thank you, member.
already nickel and dimed with rate hikes, short of
Thank you,
options.
member.
These are the people who are trying to give it all.
Thank you, member.